And 2, we could solve this, multiply by 2, and we would have our width. There's a slightly easier way. This way works. Can we all see how we could solve for this? And we can multiply by 2 and have that entire width since I have the length. Well, let's look at a slightly easier way. This won't work every single time, but it's worth a shot. Especially because a rectangle and square, I can continue this down and put another radius on this side. That radius is also 3. Well, that means I have a right triangle that has a hypotenuse of 6, and we're just missing that length there. Well, since this is a right triangle, I know 2 sides. We're just going to go x squared plus 4 squared equals our 6 squared. And then we're going to have x squared plus 16 equals 36. We are going to have x squared equals 20. And that's going to give me x, I got it, equals square root of 20. You could simplify that down because 4 goes into it. We can call this the square root of 4 times 5, which the square root of 4 is 2. This is 2 square root of 5. Is 2 square root of 5 the answer to this problem? No, that is just the width of it. That 2 square root of 5 is just this x value here. Our area is going to equal 2 square root of 5 times that 4, which is going to equal 8 square root of 5. So like you had your square root of 5. You just had you had 2 of them, so it'd be 2 square root of 5s for that total length. That's what I was trying to get you to do. You had a square root of 5, didn't you, for like half a length? So if you would add, because you came up with like this being square root of 5, if you added another one, you would have had 2 square root of 5s, which was exactly what I had. Yeah?
So when would it just work?
We'll find out shortly. This will work anytime we have a rectangle or a square. All right, it's always a good idea to come up with that whole diagonal. It just makes it easier than breaking it into little triangles. Little triangles will work, but why not try the easy way first? See if it makes a straight line in a right triangle. All right, questions from the homework. Hamza.
Yeah, for number 12.
Mm-hmm.
So why are, like, you see those two at like the left end and the right end? Do you see how they're both 3 and 3? Like, why are those equal?
Because it is an isosceles trapezoid. It's an isosceles trapezoid for 2 reasons. And both of those reasons help us come up with, so both those 3's are the same. That's your question, right? How do I know both those 3's are the same?
Yeah.
So let's look at this. Let's look at what they gave me. If they ever give you both your base angles are congruent, see how they said 60 and 60? If both your base angles are congruent, it's just like a triangle. If your base angles of a triangle are congruent, that means it's an isosceles triangle. If your base angles of a trapezoid are congruent, that means that you have an isosceles trapezoid. They went one step further and they actually gave you the 6 and 6. Since it is isosceles, and this is congruent to this is 90 degrees, this is 90 degrees, this is congruent to this, by side, angle, both of those triangles have to be the same size.
Oh, okay.
So all I did is I realized that this is 10, and we had 6 to split between these 2, but since they have to be the same size, it has to be 3 and 3. So realistically, I just knew that this had to be congruent to that, so they both had to be 3.
Oh, yeah.
To,
How do we know that's 90 degrees then, like those 2? Is it just because we know it's a height?
because it's because I purposely drew it to be 90 degrees.
Okay. Yeah.
Because it's an altitude.
Yes.
It's 90 degrees to both of them. That's the point of that line. So we split 10 into 4, 3, and 3.
Yeah.
What other questions? That's a good question, because you need to be able to recognize when it's an isosceles trapezoid or when it's not. Isabella?
Did you go over 15?
Yeah. So 15, the big thing about 15 is that is definitely not an isosceles trapezoid. That is definitely not an isosceles trapezoid, so you have to look at it slightly different. It's also not a 90-degree one, which is super nice. So we had something that looks like this, and we had like a 2, and we had the ocho, we had a dos, and we had a diez. That's Spanish for 8, 2, and 10. You're welcome, everyone. All right, so we have a 30-degree here as well. That was basically all the information they gave me, correct? So what we have, base 1 is 2. We have base 2 is 10. All I need is a height. So if I'm looking for a height, I'm going to draw a line going down here. Well, that's 90 degrees. Well, that's 30, which makes this 60 degrees. The side opposite your 30 degrees is going to be your S side. The one opposite your 90 degrees is going to be your 2S. Well, that means 2S equals 8. So what does S equal? 4. So what's my height? 4. So it's just half of 4 times 2 plus 10. Hamza.
Yeah, I had another question.
Okay. All right, do you have a specific question? Just so I know what I'm looking for.
Yeah, I mean, I got like 135, and I kind of just split it into a rectangle.
So you said 14?
Yeah, 14.
Okay, so let's just look at my picture. So you must have divided in the same way I did then if you did a triangle and a rectangle. All right, so that means this is 45, 45, which makes this S, S, and this is S squared of 2. Mm-hmm. So your S has to be 9.
Yeah.
So this is 9, this is 9. Well, that makes your base 15, because you have 9 plus 6 gives you your 15. Mm-hmm. And this base is 6, and your height is 9. So you should have done 1/2 your height, which is 9, times 6 plus 15.
Does it work if you do area equals 1/2 base times height to find the area for the triangle, and then area equals length times width for the rectangle, and then add those areas?
Yes.
It does. Oh, yeah, then I must have done something.
Yeah. Yep. So it should definitely work. So you would have had like 1/2 9 times 9. Which would be 1/2, so it'd be 81 over 2.
Oh, yeah.
And this one would be 6 times 9.
Yeah, I see what I did.
Okay, yep, but that definitely works. All right, other questions? Okay. Today's lesson isn't going to be super new stuff. It's just going to be different ways of asking. In fact, that first one should look very similar, and most of us should know how to do this one. In fact, you're going to help me do this. So everyone that's working forward or ahead of us, make sure you get on the same page as us so you can help us. All right, so we have find the area of the trapezoid. I have base 1, I have base 2. How am I going to find my height? Sam?
You're going to make it like a line that is a 90 degrees on here.
Yep.
And makes like that a rectangle and that one.
Yeah, a rectangle and a right triangle, correct?
Yeah.
Like that? That's what you're looking for? All right, and the length of that is going to be our h. Well, the cool thing about that h is this 6 is going to be the same size on either side. So we'll have 6 here, and then we're going to have 12 here. Well, that's a right triangle where I'm just finding a side. We can either do h squared plus 12 squared equals 15 squared, or we can realize that that's a Pythagorean triple. There is a Pythagorean triple that forms 12, 15, and the blank side. What Pythagorean triple am I talking about? 9, 12, 15. What's the Pythagorean primitive that used to do that? It's a 3, 4, 5. Yeah, you were 100% right, though. But it's a 3, 4, 5, because if I divide 15 by 3, it's 5. If I divide 12 by 3, it's 4. That means it's a 3, 4, 5, where I multiply everything by 3. So 3 times 3 would equal 9. So either you solve the h squared plus 12 squared equals 15 squared, or you just know that h has to equal 9. Doesn't matter which way you do it, as long as you get 9 out. That's pretty much it. I already have base 1, I have base 2, I have the height. Now we can find our area. Well, my area is going to equal 1/2 the height, which is 9, times base 1 plus base 2, which is 6, plus 18. What does my area equal? Cam? What was that?
63.
63? Is that correct? I need a second person. Uh-oh.
No.
What's another possibility? Tori, what'd you get?
Yeah, 108.
108. All right, let's just check that. Okay, 6 plus 18 is 24. 24 divided by 2 is 12. 12 times 9 would be 108, so 108 would be the correct answer. You might have plugged it in wrong, Cam. It's actually 108. Maybe the parentheses in the wrong place or something. 108 is correct. All right, cool. So that's our first one. The next one is find...
I feel like 1/2 times 18 plus 6. I need to play that.
Oh, I gotcha. Yeah. All right, it says find the area of an isosceles trapezoid with legs 10, shorter base 6, and base angles of 40 degrees. So let's go ahead and draw that guy. So we have a trapezoid. And we have a shorter base being 6, the longer base being 10, and we have base angles of 40 degrees. Now, it says it's isosceles right here, but it also tells you it's isosceles right here. If it says both your base angles are 40 degrees, that is the same thing as saying it is isosceles. So if I say base angles are 40 degrees, I don't need to tell you it's isosceles. You need to just know it's isosceles rectangle. So that's 40 degrees. All right, I'm going to use Sam's trick, and we'll see where that goes. So Sam said, last time he said just divide these into right triangles. But how does that help me here? How does that help me here? I have a 40 degree, I have a 10, and I have a 6. How does that help me find my height? Cece?
You know that the rectangle on the bottom is 6?
Okay, so we can, let me just erase that and say, okay, this is 10. So you said take this 6 and put it down here, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the other segments are 2 and 2.
Are 2 and 2. Yeah, perfect. Because it's an isosceles trapezoid, it's going to split those up evenly. Yeah.
Wait, how did you know that the whole base was 10?
It told us.
It's just leg. It's just
Oh, legs. Ooh. Oh. I almost did the wrong problem. Let's pretend that didn't happen. Let's reverse in time. 10 and 10. Thank you. Thank you for pointing that out. I was going to solve the whole thing and been like, okay, so that's 10 and 10. That actually makes it not that much different than how Cece set it up. We should know that this is 6 across here. But now we don't know that 2 and 2. Those are both x's instead of 2's. So I need to find a height, and I need to actually find those x's. What are we going to use to find either one of those? Hamza?
You do like sine or
We could absolutely use sine, cosine, or tangent. So let's look at the h. Do I use sine, cosine, or tangent to solve for h? Aryan,
you use.
I'm looking for h.
Cosine.
Cosine?
Yeah.
So cosine,
Sine.
what was that?
Sine.
Which one?
Sine.
It's going to be sine. Remember, it's SOHCAHTOA. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So let's look at 40 degrees. My opposite's h. My hypotenuse is 10. So we could then use sine, because the sine of 40 degrees is going to equal opposite, which is h, over hypotenuse. What would cosine of 40 degrees equal? What would cosine of 40 degrees equal in these triangles? Grant?
x over 10.
Yeah. So if I wanted to find x, we would use our cosine of 40 degrees. Because cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. The adjacent side to 40 degrees is our x over our hypotenuse of 10. We actually basically saw both of them. Our h is going to equal 10 times sine of 40 degrees. Who can tell me what h equals? Yeah. 6.4. Who can tell me what my x is going to equal? I have 10 cosine of 40 degrees. Someone knew what is my x equal to? Kazi. 7 point. I think it rounds to 7.7. Am I right? Okay. All right. Well, that's important because that means that this x is 7.7. It means that this x is 7.7. So what is the total length of our base? What's our base 2? Our base 1 is 6. What's our base 2, Aryan? It is 21.4. That's all I need to come up with our area. My area is going to equal 1/2 the height, which is 6.4, times base 1 plus base 2. So that's 6 plus 21.4. I don't know that offhand either, so you're going to help me with that one. Sam?
Wait for the whole thing.
For the whole thing, yeah, what's the area of it?
I got 87.4.
87.4. Does anyone disagree? I don't remember this offhand. Does that look right? Or did just one person do it? Cam?
Isn't it 87.6?
I don't know. I'm relying on you guys.
Oh yeah, I did I did the original 7 point whatever.
Oh, okay. So what should it be with these numbers?
87.7.
87.7? Okay. So it's 87.7 using these numbers depending on where you rounded. My guess is you rounded further on these.
Yeah.
You went to the 100th or something? Yep. All right, any questions on using sine or cosine? You have to use trig in this homework. You have to. All right, so if you're fuzzy on it, make sure you ask questions. All right, our next one. Hamza, remember you said, when does it not work drawing a straight line across?
Yeah.
This is the guy. This is the guy. So let's go through it. It says an isosceles trapezoid have bases 12 and 16. So let's go ahead and make one of these 12 and make the other one 16. It's inscribed in a circle with radius of 10, and the center of the circle lies in the interior of the trapezoid. All that's saying is your center is somewhere inside your trapezoid. Okay, now we know the radius is 10. Now we're going to start the same way we did with the rectangle, where I'm going to draw a radius going to one of the corners. With the rectangle, I was allowed to draw all the way down to the bottom left, and it made a perfectly straight line. Does that form a 90-degree triangle? No, so in this case, it doesn't work. So in this case, we have to go back to the drawing board. Not really a drawing board, but we have to go back to coming up with small triangles. You have to at least create triangles. Because my goal is I need to find the height of this thing. I need to know what this distance is. Well, these aren't helping me too much right now. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create two triangles. I'm going to create a top triangle and a bottom triangle. Would it be possible to find the heights of those triangles? Can we all kind of see that? If I asked you to find the height of this, can you picture how you would do that? Sorry? Drop an altitude. So let's drop an altitude here. Let's drop an altitude right here. And here's the good thing about an altitude of an isosceles triangle. It splits the base in half. So that means this triangle, I'm going to pull this out real quick. I'm going to call that x in just a second, but that forms a right triangle where we have a hypotenuse of 10 and a base of 6 because we divide that in half. Now, this height I'm going to call x. I'm going to call that x. Now, you could do x squared plus 6 squared equals 10 squared. Or you could reckon, oh, that's 10 degrees, 10 squared. You could solve all that, or you could realize it's a Pythagorean triple. It's a variation of what primitive am I looking at if I see a 6, 10, and an x. Someone besides Leanne, she got the other primitive. Ishana? It's going to be 8. What was the primitive that you used? Do you remember? Or you just know this one? Okay. What primitive am I using? Yeah. 5, 4, and 3. 3, 4, 5. Because 6 divided by 2 is 3. 5. That means this is 4 times 2, which is 8. So you're 100% correct. It is 8. Either you solve it or you know it. X equals 8. Why is that important, though? Why was that height important? Grant.
Because that gets you to part of the height of the trapezoid.
It gets me to part of the height of the trapezoid. How do I get the rest of the height of the trapezoid? Ooh, 2 people are just tag teaming this one. Tori.
You have to find the height of the other triangle on the bottom.
We have to find the height of the bottom one, which is the exact same steps, right? We're going to drop an altitude. That will cut this one in half into 8 and 8. Yeah, sorry, Grant.
I was just saying, answer.
Oh, okay. What is that height going to end up being?
6.
It's going to end up being 6. That's also a Pythagorean triple, right? So let's go ahead and draw that picture. We got jump, jump. Let's call this height y. I don't know why, just because. And this would be 8. So that would be a 6, 8, 10. We would know that from this one too, right? Because this was 6, 8, 10. 6, 8, 10 must work. So either you do your y squared plus 8 squared equals 10 squared, solve it, or we just know that y equals 6. All right, x equals 8, y equals 6. What is the height of this trapezoid? What is the height of this trapezoid? More than 3 people, more than 4 people should know this. I should have a whole bunch of people that are willing to answer. Denise, what's the height of our trapezoid?
15.
Not 15?
Or 14.
14. It's 14. It is just going to be that 6 plus that 8, right? So we're going to take that 6 and add it to that 8. And we're going to have our h equals 14. That's important because I already have base 1. I have base 2. I got my height now. Now we can do our area. Our area equals 1/2 our height, which is 14, times base 1, which is 12, plus base 2, which is 16. And what is that total area? Grant, do you have a question or the answer?
Answer.
All right, what is it?
196.
196. Do you agree with that? Can I get a second? I see heads nodding, so let's box that in. Cool. All right, one more. I'm sorry, Hamza.
Can you explain one more time why, when you draw an altitude, it splits the base in half?
It's the definition of being an isosceles triangle. Once again, this would be side, angle, angle.
Yeah, I see it. Yeah.
Yep, side, angle, angle. All right, so that's 196. We got one more to do, and then you'll be free to work on your homework. And isosceles trapezoid, its base is 10, 14. The area is 48. Find the height and the legs. Do I need to draw a picture to find the height? No, we just need the formula. So I'm just going to do that. We're going to draw the picture, don't worry. But just remember that area equals 1/2 your height times base 1 plus base 2. Well, we know the area. We don't know the height, so let's leave that as height. We do know base 1 and base 2. So that'd be 10 plus 14. 10 plus 14 is 24. 24 divided by 2 is 12. So we have 48 equals 12h. Divide both sides by 12, and you should end up with h equaling 4. Here's where we absolutely need a drawing. Do we have a formula to find the legs? Yeah.
Yes.
We have a formula to find the legs?
I don't know that formula, but you could
But you know.
split trapezoid into two triangles.
The
on
two
side.
triangles. Yeah, perfect. So we do need a picture of the trapezoid. We need to split it into the 2 triangles. So let's draw our trapezoid. Burp. There we go. I got my trapezoid. I got a base of 10. I got a base of 14. Grant told me to divide it into those triangles. Oh, that's it. I actually know those heights of those purples because we already found the height is 4. That's 4 and 4. It's an isosceles trapezoid. So what else do I need to do before I can actually solve for, let's go ahead and call it x. Cam,
To add the 10
I need to add the 10?
and 20 and 14.
Yeah. So are you talking about doing this? Or what are we talking about?
No, if you just do 1 half times 4 times 10 plus 14.
We're trying to find the x, though. We already found the height and the area.
Oh, the left.
Tori?
You know that the 10 goes down?
Yeah, the 10 will go down and be 10 here. And since our total length is 14, what's the measure of each of those little bases? 2. Well, those are just right triangles where I'm missing one bit of information. So I just need to do 2 squared plus 4 squared equals x squared. We work our way down. 4 squared is 16. 2 squared is 4. 4 plus 16 is 20. Take the square root of both sides. You'll have x equals the square root of 20, which we already did in the Bell work. That equals 4 times 5, so it's going to be 2 square root of 5. Do I need to find the other leg? No, it's an isosceles, and they're both x's, so this is both legs. It's isosceles. We just need one leg. We know the other leg. All right, really quick on your homework. Those last 2 are difficult problems. Just be clear on the second to last one. It says you are going to find the area of the 2 triangles formed by extending the legs until they intersect. So if you picture a trapezoid, it's got angled sides. You are going to put basically dot lines until it makes it into a triangle. And that's going to form a really big triangle and a little triangle on top. Number 30, here's the hard part about number 30. Is number 30 an isosceles trapezoid? If it was, it'd be a super easy problem. It is not, so it turns it into an exponentially hard problem. Not exponentially hard, but it's harder. It's harder. All right, guys, the rest of the time is for you to work and ask questions. Make sure you have homework somewhere near you so I can check it. Kazi, did you have a question? Okay. You're just yawning and didn't want to